Hello and welcome to the Accesses program for the January Community Chat. My name is Jillian Deese, and I am a second year graduate student here at The Ohio State University. I am also the GAA for Access, which is just a graduate assistant for Access Collaborative here at The Ohio State University. I would like to thank you all for joining us today for this session titled, What Parenting Students Have to Say. So I want to take a moment and introduce you to our program called the Access Collaborative Program here at The Ohio State University. The purpose behind these monthly community chats derived from the initiative and mission behind Access Collaborative, which is an academic and social support program to assist parenting students who are pursuing a college education at The Ohio State University. We offer a variety of services to the parenting students in our program, such as programming on parenting life and life skills, childcare, housing aid, and scholarship opportunities. Since 2005, our program has organized and offered the National Student Parent Support Symposium with the purpose of bringing together students, community, organizations, higher education professionals to discuss best practices when supporting post-secondary parenting students and their families. This year, our symposium will be held digitally or virtually, again, to maintain safety for all of our guests. And the theme of this year's symposium is And Still We Rise, setting the groundwork for parenting student empowerment. This will take place on May 19th through May 20th of 2021. We are now accepting workshop proposals and will be through March 20th, 2021. For more information, you can visit our website at odi.osu.edu/National Student Parent Support Symposium, hyphens in between each word. And I would like to now talk to you a little bit about these monthly chats and why we're here. So these chats are here to discuss and have meaningful conversations on topics specific to parenting students in higher education. Our goal is to give attendees the opportunity to network and to stay connected with other higher ed and community professionals serving parenting students. And additionally, we started these at the end of our last symposium to build up momentum in this virtual platform leading up to our 2021 Student Parent Support Symposium. So with that being said, I would like to go ahead and start with this presentation. So unlike our normal community chats, I'm leading this because I want to make this a very parenting student-centered space today. So let me reshare my screen and we will get going. So the start of this presentation is called A Quick Rundown on Parenting Students and what this exactly means. This is sometimes a term that's a little lost in academia because sometimes this references a student who has parents. In this case, the parent is the student and they have kids that come along with their journey through college. So again, my name is Jillian Deese. I'm a parenting student at The Ohio State University, pursuing my master's in educational policy. I graduate here in May, so we are really close to the end for me, at least for this master's degree, and I will engage in a higher ed pursuit another day. But until then, I will return back to the classroom and go back to teaching for a little while. So some basic things that we know right now about the student parent experience. And this comes from a lot of our presentations and our community members who have come in and shared with us what they know and what they understand and what data has demonstrated about parenting students. Number one, parenting students struggle with access to affordable housing, highly effective childcare, financial stability. Those are some of the biggest barriers that parenting students face in terms of college success. It doesn't matter if the parenting student is 18 and entering college straight out of high school, or if they are 35 and going back to college. These main barriers here make it really difficult to engage in that student life as well as successfully graduating. Another thing we know, Title IX protections are in place as a method to protect pregnant and parenting students, but they are not always utilized this way. We have heard from one of our guests, Molly Pereno. She's did presentations with us before, and they are already on our YouTube channel if you want to review them. But she has talked about how Title IX protections are there for pregnant parenting students to support and make sure that you are not discriminated against, and also that you are not deprived of the student experience that you are there paying for. And that is something that's really important, especially when you are maybe pregnant and have difficulties navigating your doctor's appointments in class, or in the most recent scenario, having these extra burden of children maybe at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic and things like that. So another thing that we know, student parents earn better grades than other student groups. According to a report that was done by IWPR and Ascend called The Parents in College by the Numbers, they found that among groups of students, parenting students earn better grades. That's something we always have to make sure we make known, because parenting students struggle, but they achieve when those things are in place to eliminate some of these barriers. Another breakdown, just to bring back some of our old presenters. Almost all the people here at the bottom of the screen have presented with us before. Lindsay Reichland Cruz, Tessa Holtzman, Barbara Galt, David Kroom, and Portia Polk. They created this out of that report I just mentioned with IWPR and Ascend. And what you see here is the demonstration that most parenting students are mothers, and more than 2 in 5 student mothers are single. This is really important to know, because those barriers that I mentioned before, those are, almost illuminated for a single student mother. And that's why you might actually see that that struggle is very real, is a term that we often use around the people I know, and getting through college, because childcare can, easily be disrupted if your child has a fever and they can't stay at daycare for the day, or if you're living on some type of housing assistance and they determine you to be making too much money and they now say you have to pay more in rent, or you receive less food assistance. Those things can really destroy the basic needs of that parenting student and the responsibilities that they have to their children, which can divert their energy and their time away from their studies, even though their studies can help their situation once they get through. A few other barriers that I want to point out that aren't always easily noticed or easily seen. Not only are, I refer to parenting students as the invisible population, the invisible minority, because it's hard to tell that it's a parenting student on campus if they don't have their children, or if they don't say they have children. You might not know it. So some other invisible barriers that exist for parenting students here are increased cognitive load compared to non-parenting students. The responsibility of taking care of other little people and knowing that they are dependent on you for everything, that requires a lot of brain power. And sometimes that takes priority over coursework. Sometimes that takes priority over self-care. Sometimes that takes precedence for us. And that's something that's really important to notice, because our counterparts in college don't have that cognitive load stressor. So that means some days when you are sitting in your Zoom class and you also have to prepare dinner because your Zoom class is at 6 p.m., you have a really heightened cognitive load compared to your peer who is sitting in the same Zoom class, but maybe has no one to take care of. So they're just sitting there. And maybe they're thinking about dinner for themselves later, but there's no little person begging them for food in that moment. Another barrier that has been talked about in some of our spaces is time debt. And I read somewhere that time debt may be worse than financial debt. Parenting responsibilities take up a lot of time, and so do student responsibilities. So out of the 168 hours that we have each week, those are cut down and portioned out so minutely that parenting students don't have enough time to meet all those burdens, and still maintain a healthy, happy, mentally safe lifestyle all the time. It's really difficult, and we all know that for most of us sitting on this call. Lastly, our mental health often needs a boost. This barrier, I think, exists for many of us because we get into a mode where we just go. We have to take our kids to school by 7, and we have to get to class by 9, and maybe we have to go to our work study by 12:30 to 2, and then I have another class, and then I pick the kids up by 4, home by dinner. All these things that, make your day just go by. It really doesn't allow you to focus on how, or heal maybe from maybe trauma, maybe mental or behavioral disabilities. It does not take that into account. If you have children with medical complications, the time debt, the cognitive load, and the mental health, those are all heightened because that means maybe your child has a lot more doctor's appointments, or just requires a lot more attention or patience than a neurotypical child. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something that a lot of universities do not take account for and do not support parenting students through. Parenting guilt. That's a mental health issue that a lot of us have, is where we're in class and we feel like we're in class all the time and we're missing our baby's milestones. And that's a hard guilt to deal with because you feel like you're not there for your child, even though you're in the pursuit of providing a better life for your child. These are just a few of the health barriers that can exist for parenting students that we cannot physically see. We cannot physically know. And unfortunately, those things are really hard to process and get through for a parenting student. That time poverty thing, I wanted to really come back to for just one moment because it hasn't come up in any of our other community chats. So Ross E. O'Hara, a PhD person who wrote a blog in Psychology Today, I think he summarized it really well. And he says, first, parents experience time poverty. A study of over 15,000 CUNY, which is the community college and university unit, their students showed that parents spend over 10 hours more per day than their peers. And this is parenting students they're referencing on tasks like childcare, paid work, and housework. On top of debt, they also tend to carry more financial debt than students without children. So this means they may take out more loans. They may take out more personal loans that are not through the school, and credit card debt to survive with their family. And it says these debts together can force parenting students to work full time and then increase the risk that that parent and their families will experience economic poverty. That's a really, compacted statement to discuss time poverty, the increased financial burden of financial debt, and lack of financial security a lot of parenting students have, and how that can then play into housing insecurity and food insecurity, which that among the hierarchy of needs, those are the basic essentials that we need to function cognitively at higher levels. So for a parenting student in college who needs to function at a higher cognitive level, if their basic needs are not met, they cannot do that. I want to take a moment, check my time, and just show you a quick clip. This little clip is called "My Mom Has a Book Bag." Let's see if it'll play. I just want to play a few minutes of it because for some of you it might resonate and remind you of what it's like.
My name is Armando and I'm 8 years old. My name is Eileen and I'm 7 years old. My mom has a book bag and it's very heavy. She goes to college or something like that. My mom studies graphic designing and she's a peer mentor in the Warrior College. She comes late from school, like around 10 or 12, 11 o'clock. She works very hard for us to give us food and so we could have a better life. And we will have a better house one day.
What time are you going to do your homework?
This is her final year, and she's been working in college since I was 3 years old. Oh yeah, I've been saving a lot of money for college. I tried to not use all of it. I just used $1 for my brother to buy something for him. I wish I went to college one day.
You know you got to.
Saya, I'm 8 years old. She work and she go to school in John Jay. She go to LaGuardia to help students so students can get smarter in college.
And then I'll give everyone my email that I gave out to everyone last week in order for you guys to contact me for anything. And I'll give you guys my office hours.
Like when you just started college, like they ask you questions and you don't know, it's like hard for you to listen because maybe the teacher give you hard questions and you don't answer. When she graduate out of college, maybe like she will get a better job because she's a smart mother and she wanna do a better job for the other people.
So I want to go ahead and stop it there for time's sake, but I just want to share that little clip of video. This video is from 2018. And for some of us, it might sound like our kids or might look like our adventures to the park where one of us is reading and the kids may be playing by themselves. Yeah, I think we all just know what that looks like. So now I want to welcome in Liz Schumacher. She is a friend and colleague from the University of Michigan, and she is going to speak to you just a little bit about the University of Michigan and their program for caregivers and student parents. Welcome on, Liz.
Thanks, Jillian. I was just having a little back and forth about whether we could have another peanut butter chocolate.
Yep.
Thanks for having me. My name is Liz Shoemaker, as Jillian said, and I'm a recent graduate from the University of Michigan, and I'm the co-founder of MCAS, which is a student parent organization at the University of Michigan. And in 2019, I met Kerrigan Fitzpatrick, who was another parenting student, and Kerrigan refers to it as like two unicorns bumping into each other because we just like had no idea that there are other parenting students at U of M. And we both really benefited from the relationship and the friendship that we built as parenting students. We were exhausted mothers and just trying to figure it out. And so we started thinking about how we could grow this idea and offer a sense of community to other parenting students at U of M. So we started MCASP. Mama. Yeah, baby. Not cool. Okay, can you go get a wash that? Please pardon life that's happening right now. So from the time that we decided that we wanted to start MCASP to when it actually started, obviously the world imploded and we had to move everything virtual. But community is still at the heart of what the goal of MCASP is. So, can you little Livy? So some of the goals of MCASP, like I said, community is really at the heart of our mission. And we've moved our community virtually, as everyone has, and no, thank you, love. And so we host virtual hangouts with student parents at U of M, and we'll be offering welcome packets to student parents as well. Thank you, baby. Sorry, I have to have some candy. The second goal that we have at MCASP is to create a classroom best practices document. Classroom, thank you. And so this was really informed by the National Student Parent Symposium that Kerrigan and I attended virtually over the summer, and we really appreciated that. And this document is meant to be a roadmap for supporting student parent success at U of M. And then the last goal that we had for MCAS was to send out a community-wide survey to student parents, and we were able to do that. It ended in December, and it was wildly successful. We had a huge response rate to that, and right now we're assessing our data and hosting focus groups shortly. So we're really excited about that, to learn about our student parent population at U of M. And then finally, we built a coalition with CEW at the University of Michigan, which, no, thank you, Bob, which stands for the Center for the Education of Women. Okay, really last one. Thank you so much. And we have started the Student Parent Excellence Committee, which we call SPEC for short, and we brought in stakeholders from across the university. And the goal of that organization is to problem solve for student parents at high levels. So we have people from the Office of the Provost and multiple departments across campus. And they were really pivotal in supporting our survey across campus as well. The second thing that we've done is create the Faculty and Staff Allies group, which is what it sounds like. It's faculty and staff who have said that they want to be allies in supporting student parents. And so we're working with them to educate and train on how best to access the resources that are available at the University of Michigan. And we're also picking their brains on the best practices document that we're creating. And then finally, we have the Student Parent Advisory Board, which is populated by current student parents. And the goal of that board is to address current concerns and goals of parenting students. Some of those include getting early registration for student parents, and then securing daycare spots at U of M daycare centers, and supporting student parents who have children with special needs. So thanks for bearing with me and all the candy that was being shoved in my face. And with that, I'll throw it back over to Jillian.
Thanks, Kerrigan. I think not Kerrigan, Liz. I'm sorry, you kept saying Kerrigan. Thanks, Liz. I think it's quite appropriate that Violet is here featured with us. It's okay. So now I want to go ahead and get ready to roll into our panel. We have some really cool parenting students here to chat with us today. So I want to start by introducing Michaela Martin, who currently attends the University of Laverne College of Law. She's pursuing her Juris Doctor 2L, and Michaela is the mother of one son, Ezra. Next, we have Jessica Pelton, who's joining us. She is 27 years old and is a student at the University of Michigan. Her 7-year-old daughter named Ariana is there featured in that picture right here. So cute. She started college at 24, which she said was the hardest time in her life. Her daughter had just been diagnosed with a brain tumor a year prior and had brain surgery just a few weeks before she started her first class at college. Her daughter was home with her full time through Jessica's first 2 semesters, and that made it kind of difficult, right? After only a year into college, Jessica transferred to the University of Michigan, and she's now a rising senior with the hopes of graduating a semester early. Being a student parent at Michigan, Jessica says, was really hard. She found that they were unsupportive of traditional students and far less supportive of parenting students, which I'm sure that is the purpose and goals of Liz's program that she just spoke on. Next, we have Kat Hadley here with us, who is a junior studying political science at the University of Michigan. She is the mother of 2 toddlers, and she is an activist and an advocate. Catherine founded birthsafe.org, a maternal health specific review website. She has lobbied for mental health bills in Michigan and Washington, D.C. She is a member for the Hungry for Justice SNAP Expansion Coalition. And in September of 2020, her group helped get Senate Bill 1006 passed, which removed the felony ban for SNAP in Michigan. She's also interned with the Michigan Women's Commission and Eli Savitz's successful campaign in the Washtenaw County Prosecutor. Currently, she works at Patriot Millionaires as a junior associate through the Michigan and Washington program. And she is interested in birth equity and justice, women's rights, and women's health advocacy. In her life, Catherine hopes to advance solutions that share prosperity and equity for all. Lastly, joining our panel is Diana. She is a 5th-year social work student at The Ohio State University. In addition to being a parenting student, she is also the liaison for Moana Funzi, which is the student chapter for the National Association for Black Social Workers. She's also the marketing director for Students with Children organization here at The Ohio State University, and she interns for Access Collaborative. She has 2 children, ages 2 and 1, named TJ and Uzziah. And Diana has recently accepted a position for St. Vincent Family Center as a treatment specialist, while also applying for OSU's Master's in Social Work program. So if you thought time debt was real, I'm sure all these ladies understand what that really means and will help speak to that some more. So ladies, welcome to this space. I'm glad you all are here. Let's open up with some questions. So as I ask these questions, feel free to hop in who wants to answer and who wants to get started. What has been your best moment for your parenting student career?
I'm happy to start on that. So yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, and I'm really happy to be here. I think as a parent, there's like little wins that you get throughout the day, like extra time or like that extra long nap when you can get all your homework done at once. Those are always wins. But I would say most recently, I applied for the Truman Scholarship, and I just didn't think it was going to happen. And I really never, I just thought I'd go through it because I'm thinking about graduate school. This will be good practice. But I got to celebrate getting nominated to represent University of Michigan for that. And that was just a huge moment. And my kids knew that I was working on it, and we all got to celebrate, and they ate a tub of ice cream. So it's just moments like that where you can bring your kids into your education and celebrate together are really wonderful.
I would say for me, I don't think there's one single moment, but all the moments where at the end of the day, it was a long day, had a lot to do, but I got everything done and I still had time for me and the kids went to bed early. Those are the best moments. I just feel like accomplished and powerful. Like just when I handled it all. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I have school with the kid and I was practicing conscious parenting. Those are the best moments for me.
What about you, Jessica?
Could you actually repeat the question? My daughter's friend knocked on the door, so I missed it when I jumped to see who it was.
That's okay. If that's not our life, I think that happens for me in class like twice a week. So it's all good. My question was, what has been your best moment for your parenting student career? Like, what's just that moment that like, it just hits that spot that's like, man, this is all right.
I would say probably how excited my daughter gets that like I came to U of M. We between my husband and I, he was a student first and now I am. So she's been here at U of M for like 5 years. So since she was 2, so she's like a diehard Michigan fan now. So then she's always like, yeah, my parents go to U of M. Like we're at U of M. We live at Michigan. And I always have to tell her like, no, it's University of Michigan. But she always tells everyone like we live at Michigan, the real Michigan. So I would say her reaction is probably my favorite. I like how she talks about it and how she correlates like the situation and everything. And just like dreaming of being a student too, because she's watched us go through it.
I love that actually, because now for those who are on this call and are not aware of the Midwestern rivalry, Ohio State and Michigan is like one of the biggest rivalries here in the Midwest. And this is like in November, you would never hear the University of Michigan come out my mouth. But I agree that my son kind of has that same experience. He loves campus. He goes to the childcare on campus. So he's like, Mommy, I go to Ohio State and you go to Ohio State. I'm like, yeah, buddy, for sure. It's great. Michaela, what about you? What's your big win moment in your student parenting career?
I'm feeling really pessimistic today. It's been really difficult. My son doesn't always like school. But I will say that when I graduated Oregon State University for undergrad, he was like really bummed because he was like, does this mean that I don't get to go to campus anymore with you? Like we're done with campus? And so it was kind of like one of those moments where I was like, you do like school, like you do like it, like, and that was pretty cool in its own weird way.
And you know, this come up in a lot of our other sessions, especially when we work with our parenting student support specialists. That 2-generational impact of kids seeing their parents in college, and sometimes the love of college that they develop, that transcends your whole family because they have their bar is set so high that they know they're going to college. Realistically for them, it's like, okay, what degree am I stopping at? And that, man, for some families, that really just changed the ball game. And that's the beauty of being a parenting student. Let's switch it up. Michaela, you might be ready for this right now. What has been your most challenging moment?
Yeah, that feeling of like I just graduated, I'm so excited, and like I did this, like I'm a student parent, and he was like not thrilled about graduation. So like it kind of was like kind of rained on my parade a little bit. I think he was most upset because Oregon University has like a shuttle bus. It's like a small bright orange bus to take you around campus. They call it the Beaver bus. And so Ezra was really upset because he was like, but I love riding the Beaver bus. And like, because anytime he came on campus, I don't know about y'all's campuses, but parking is a serious issue. Like that was one of the most costly things that I couldn't budget for. And so we would have to park with campus and then we rode a shuttle in, which takes a lot of time. Speaking of time debt, because if I could afford a regular parking pass, I could come like 10 minutes before class, park super easy, and then go to class. But I couldn't do that. So, you know, hour and a half class would then take me like 2-3 hours by the time I accounted for drive time and this like chaos. But as far as my hardest moment was really like, and it was kind of empowering in a way because I remembered that like as much as I'm doing this for my family, like I go to school also because it's my dream and I'm allowed to have that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of weird. It makes me emotional when I talk about it because like sometimes we really want to tell ourselves like this is just for our kids, but like we have to let it be for us too.
Absolutely. I'm not going to add my words to because yes, just yes. Who else wants to share? What's been your most challenging moment as a parenting student?
Sure, I can share on that. For myself, I returned to school really quickly after the birth of my second child. I actually went into labor like the minute after my final, and then I was right back. So not ideal. And I pushed myself really hard. And, you know, I was like, I need to transfer. I need to do these things. So I have to do this. And in retrospect, I didn't, and I could have taken more time, but I didn't give myself that space, which I think is very common in student parents or really anyone, but especially with student parents, is not giving ourselves space to just recover. And during my second birth, I also survived obstetric violence, and both myself and my son died. So there was like a lot of trauma around that time. And in some ways, I think it really helped me walk through that experience to be able to say school is my thing and it's my time and I'm independent of this. But yeah, in retrospect, I would have done that differently.
See, for me, I had kind of a similar experience in terms of going right back to school right after having a kid. I had my son 2 days after my last final. And luckily it was at the summer break. So I had 3 months and son goes to daycare. I'm back in school, 18 credits. For me personally, I had a lot of postpartum depression. I found that actually helped me because it gave me routines and rigidity. And I don't want to say people holding me accountable, but I had deadlines and things to meet. So for me, that helped. But I can understand taking more time too could help someone in different ways. What about your most surprising moment? What was the most surprising moment as a parenting student, good or bad? I'll quickly start. For me, I didn't know how hard it would be to, be a breastfeeding mom while going to school because I knew there were lactation rooms. At our campus, that has been something that they had implemented maybe a year or so before, so you could see them in our buildings, but accessing them was extremely hard because they were locked. And then there's no refrigerators, there's no way to keep the milk, there's no way to, it was just, that was for me genuinely surprising because I thought it would be a little more easier to do. Who else?
I think for me, the most surprising thing was how good my professors have been. Just because I guess I didn't expect like the understanding and like being just a normal student here has been really hard. Like it's very lonely as a student parent, but I relate to my professors and my like GSIs a lot, and they were always fantastic about my daughter, with the exception of like one or two were complete jerks about it. But like I would just say, like, oh, something is going on. And my professors would be like, just bring her to class. She can hang out with us. I've had numerous like make her a part of the lecture or like reference like a child being a part of the lecture today and different things. And she always enjoyed it and I enjoyed it. And so I was really surprised at like how supportive professors are, just because like they don't have to be.
So I'll answer. Being in the College of Social Work, I one, I was just surprised that I would have professors that would also let me bring my kids to class. But so with TJ, he's the oldest, it was like everyone was like, oh yeah, that's fine. But then the next year when I had another child and I was like, okay, well, we kind of have to do this again because I don't have childcare right now. They were like, but didn't we just go through this? And then the help kind of slowed down, and it was just surprising to me because being in social work, I just thought they'd be a little more helpful, but it was kind of like I had like worn them out a little bit with the request that I had. So that was surprising for me.
I agree. I think it's interesting. I was going to type in the chat, but I'll just note it here. What's also surprising to me, Diana, is how you mentioned bring your kids to campus. I didn't know that there are some campuses that write that in their policies that is forbidden. I know there are local community college here, which community colleges often serve a lot of parenting students. It's against their rules to bring children onto campus. And in the access program, we've had some of our students who go to Columbus State. Well, I shouldn't have said the name. Oh well. You know, we've had them go there, take their kids, and maybe they're older kids, and they sit outside on their tablets and are quiet, not bothering anybody. And they've had to be police escorted off campus. So it is surprising. It's honestly something that I think some of us can maybe make sure our campuses have those policies in place that protect us that way, because not all of them do. Yeah, it breaks my heart too. So Jessica, you mentioned how supportive your professors were. Can we can anybody build on how you told your professors, or if you did you wait till an email like crisis had to happen, or did you tell them when you first said, hello, my name is so and so, I'm a parenting student? Like, how did you introduce that idea to your professors?
So I could say how like I went about it, because my situation is even like further different than like even a traditional student parent. As mentioned, like with my daughter's brain tumor and stuff, since I entered college, like with her having the brain surgery, and we didn't know if it was going to be like the only one. Like she had potential for more, there's potential for like complications, like her tumor could have changed, like just anything. And she also does have some like kind of further health issues. And so I started, when I started at WCC, our community college, the first day, I just kind of let all my professors know that like, hey, she's recovering. It's been 3 weeks. I don't know if next week we could be back in the hospital, things like that. I actually had an advisor at WCC tell me not to start classes because of her situation. But I did not experience that with my professors. They were really good. And then here at U of M, I tell them that like, I hope nothing happens, because when I started at U of M, I told them I didn't anticipate anything to happen. And she got like some crazy illnesses, like a rare parasite in E. coli. And I mean, it was awful. So now, like this year, I've been telling them, I hope nothing happens, but like, this is her history. She has this, this, this. She's been in the PICU. She's had surgeries. I'm like, I'm going to be the best student. I have good grades. I complete all my homework early. So like, I'm ready to do this. I hope you're ready. And so like, that's just how I go about it. And I've never had anyone say like, sorry, we don't. But there was like I said, one professor tried getting me to do exams at like 7 a.m. because he didn't want to accommodate a normal afternoon exam. And I was like, all right, then we're going to fight this. And then he was like, no, it's okay. I'll do it then. So that's the only issue I run into, but otherwise the professors have been really good. And I just find telling them the whole story seems to work, but like, if you don't want to, you totally don't have to.
Michaela, what about you? I say you've gone to law school, so I know that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, in law school, there's no excused absences. So like if you get 6 or depends on the class, how many times a week you meet, but you're totally dropped if you miss more than, usually on average, about 3 to 4 classes. And you're just dropped completely from the class. So like, that's really scary. I've been really lucky that like I have a support network, and so I haven't ran into that issue yet, but in undergrad, I did not have that level of support that Jessica received at all. Like at one point I had a professor, because I would try and tell them usually after class on the first day so that I didn't have to like say it in front of the class and just kind of like, hey, like I usually have everything under control, but sometimes like childcare isn't always, I mean, things happen or the kid gets sick and you can't take them to class when your kid's sick. And she literally told me that she didn't make exemptions and that it was my choice that I had a child. Like to my face said this. Like I'll never forget that. I was like, "Are you serious?" And she was all like, "Yeah, I mean like you know, you decided to have a kid and come to class." And I knew that I probably didn't handle that situation the best, I'll be real, because I also knew that she was very like left leaning and I was like, "So you're totally pro choice, just not my choice?" And she was like, "Whoa, that's not," and I was like, "Okay, cool," and I left. And I like I tend to like say things and then like leave because I'm a runner, not a fighter. And afterwards she like emailed me and then we like set up a meeting and things were okay. But like I had like multiple incidences of like professors that were like, there's no policy protecting student parents, so I will not make accommodation for testing. I will not make accommodations for other things. And I had friends that failed classes because of it. So yeah, I mean, like I pushed through, but I did not really. I would say there were a couple good ones. One time a professor gave me a key to an office so I could pump. And I had a really great professor. I came to campus with my son to turn in my paper because I was like, you had to turn in your paper by the beginning of class. And my childcare, and even my backup childcare both ended up, one gal was like ended up in surgery and then the other one was sick. And so I was like, how did this happen? So I brought Ezra with my paper to turn in and she was like, oh, you guys should just stay. And so we stayed in class and she was really cool about it. But I don't know, telling your professors is 50-50 because sometimes they're weird about it afterwards.
Yeah, sometimes they're weird about it, and sometimes they will, if they're the type of professor that likes to send opportunities their way to their students, they might not send it your way because they think you can't handle it or you already have too much on your plate or all these things they think parenting students like would stop them from sending the opportunity. So I've heard, especially in grad school, I've heard it's a lot, very 50-50 of what works best for you. And I don't want to dig too deep into the COVID-19 with landscape now because we've had these barriers before this ever existed. But I know right now I had to let a professor know that I might have to turn my camera off sometimes, or I typically keep a virtual background up. And they said, why? I said, my son likes to sometimes walk around with no shirt on and his underwear. And I don't feel like him needing to be seen to other people in the comfort of our home that way. Now I explained it and they were okay with it, but I kind of thought I didn't even need to explain that, right? So sometimes with professors, it is hard. I'm trying to get through a few questions because I know we're coming down on time. I want to ask two more questions if we can. Michaela, you mentioned your support system. You had a one daycare and a backup one. I never had backup, so shout out to you. I just lived by the seat of my pants. Like, how did you guys manifest your support? Is it family? Was it a friend family kind of thing? Did you get it from classes or from orgs? Like, how did you form your support that you do have?
I'll say like I'm really blessed and like I like to really acknowledge that I'm privileged in many ways, and one of which is that my mom all during undergrad lived about a mile away from us, and she's very supportive of me being in higher education and made a lot of sacrifices herself, and she was able to set her own hours at work because she did like field researching for a company where they paid to like go to doors, so we were able to like time our schedules. But not everybody has that, which is what has made me such like really fiercely advocating, because it's really hard for me to tell my neighbors and my friends like, hey, you can go to school, when I know they don't have the things that like, you know, my mom is home. So and then I had a neighbor, and so like that was kind of my backup, you know. And like making friends in student government. So, but that's hard because not everybody has supports like that. I have friends that are in school and their parents don't even want them to be there. They're like, why don't you just get a job? Right? Why are you doing this to yourself? And so find those people that are going to push you up and pump you up and like, don't let go of them. Just be really annoying. It's fine. Don't get rid of them.
What about you, Kat?
So we had a mix before, like pre-COVID. I had my oldest in daycare because we could swing that. And then my youngest, we're lucky enough to be by a grandma that's willing to watch them. But with COVID, we had to make the choice of, do we pay for 2 kids daycare, which we couldn't afford. You know, if we're being completely honest, it's like my husband had to cut down so I could go back to school so he can watch the kids. And so we're a family of 4 making 25 grand a year. And for 1 semester of daycare out of pocket, it's $9,000. So if I did a full year, that's over half of our income. And so that's why I think you're going to hear a lot of us say this, but advocating for childcare slots, like assigned slots for student parents, it's so essential to create those. You know, community colleges all over have created that system, and we need the big universities to step up and to have these for student parents, because without that access, if let me put it this way, if I transfer to University of Michigan and there's a wait list of 2 years for childcare, I am not going to get childcare, not through the university, which also offers in excess of surplus, which costs me a lot less money. So it's the hill I'll die on, but yeah.
Yep, I saw you, Diana, was about to chime in.
I was gonna say that in the beginning, like when I first had TJ, access was my biggest support. Especially in CPO too. Nicole at CPO, who does I think it's Title 20, that she helped me with that, and I was able to get childcare really quickly with him. But there was about 6 weeks where I didn't have it and I was in school. So some days I was taking TJ to school with me, and then the other days that I wasn't, my friend happened to have a schedule that was very open, and she was just willing to keep him for however long I needed her to keep him. So that was like, it was really good and ended up working out, because once childcare started, I didn't need her anymore. But when COVID happened, she had graduated the year before. Like, she just graduated, so she was no longer here to help. I was going through a breakup, so he was no longer here to help, and I wasn't comfortable putting them in childcare. So I had to I just had to reach out and get accommodations from the university and hope that something was gonna stick. But it ended up working out because most of my classes allowed me to do online, and the ones that needed you to have like live Zoom sessions let me watch the recording and then do like a paper on it. So it ended up working out, but support system now is really rocky from when it was before.
And I think that like that wide gamut, that spectrum of what that support system can look like, is what makes the student parent experience not monolithic, right? We all have different journeys. There are common barriers and common experiences, but they can vary, just generally vary by, degree of circumstances for each person. Lastly, let's go through everybody, just quick round robin on this. If there is one barrier that could have been removed to make you more comfortable or more successful in your parenting student spaces, what would it be? Let's start with Kat.
Again, it's going to be childcare. Without sustainable childcare, it's important to me as a parent when I'm in class to be able to focus on class. And so if my child is in a good daycare, I can know that their needs are being met. If I don't have that, I cannot focus on your class and I cannot be successful. So for myself, that's the number one thing. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jessica.
For me, I would say it would be like support as like being so different here. I've had like very little to no support from U of M themselves. And I would say they just have no resources for us. They like to try to kind of brush student parents under the rug and pretend we don't exist. I've been told from staff that like I'm alone here, that they've never heard of anyone like me, that they can't help me because I'm the only one. I mean, like it just doesn't end. So I would just say literally the support. Like I was lucky enough that I didn't need childcare, but because I live in family housing and I've had some neighbors that help, but U of M is just the support doesn't exist.
Diana, what is your one barrier?
I mean, I'm gonna have to say it's childcare and support together. Lack of both, it makes it hard when you don't have support. So, and that support around the whole thing, support of people who supporting you going to school, because there's a lot of people who are like, well, why don't you just come back home? It'll just be easier if you come back home, because then I'll watch your kids for you. But it's like, well, I won't need you to now because I am home. And then just the childcare, if there was like, if it was, I don't know, free or more like slots, or I don't know, just childcare and support. Those, I would have to say those two.
Round us off, Michaela.
I'm gonna have to take a shameless plug. I'm working on a bill in Oregon that's currently introduced to collect data collection from colleges and universities. And so during my experience, I know that's not a barrier, but when I would try and talk to my administration, I often received things like, Jessica, where they would say, well, we just don't know how many student parents or if anybody would even use that. So like, kind of what's the point? And so having that like localized institutional level data on how many student parents we have so that we could have informed conversations, that would be my number one. And also, after shameless plug, like I hope that you're sending out links, but if you want to be involved at all in that effort to collect data collection, that's my Twitter handle, and we'll be pushing out asks to help give stories to legislators about what this looks like.
Yep. All right, let me throw up your guys' links because I have them ready to go. Thank you all for like joining me. Before I even do that, I wanted to see you. Thank you. Like, genuinely, thank you for taking time out of your schedule, out of your time, and out of your day. And because I don't know where you were at mentally, any of you, right? And you stepped on this screen and you participated with me. So thank you for that. Let me share your contact information for our viewers. And this recording will be available in just a few short days on our YouTube channel, which is just connected to our website. If I can make this bit. There we go. Oh. There you go. Okay.
I want to say thank you to you for having us and hosting this, and to everybody in the chat who has been so supportive and really affirming, because that support, even in just these kind of groups, I don't know about any of the other panelists, but like really means the world to me and keeps me pushing forward. So thank you, all of you, for coming.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, Michaela, you almost got me crying over here. So thank you for coming on and being vulnerable and offering that space. And Kat, you're killing it here with this birthday stuff, man. This stuff is really cool. And to know that, you know, you do it with 2 kids, it's amazing to see. Jessica, shout out to you, because the mental health, I know that takes a toll on you, for you and your daughter, to then still have a happy face and go into your classes and still deal with maybe your peers who their biggest complaint is, sometimes not getting money from their parents, right? So some of these spaces are just so hard to be in. And Diana, you're one of my friends. So I'm just so happy you're here and sharing, because you have 2 under 2 and still want to pursue your master's. And that's like the most dopest thing ever. So on the screen, all their contact information that I have is here. I'm sure they'll be willing to, build and have more dialogue with any of you if you want to reach out to them. Let me wrap up here and let you know that we have another community chat coming back next month on the 24th of February at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This one will be titled "When Student Parents Succeed." A friend of our organization, Dr. Autumn Green, will come, and she's going to bring in some panelists that focus on what it looks like when parenting students actually get the support they need. And she has some panelists who are 3 doctors in academia, who have lived the experience of parenting students when there was even less support than we have now. Additionally, the National Student Parent Support Symposium will be happening on May 19th and 20th, 2021. Our registration is not open yet, but we will have that soon for you. We are accepting workshop proposals for those who would like to come and present some of their ideas for about an hour and a half during that symposium. Keep a lookout for that. If you're on this chat, you'll be getting emails from us if you'd like to sign up. Anytime you go to our ODI website, there is a link there to sign up for our listserv. And with that, my name is Jillian Deese, and I hope you all have a great week, a great month, an awesome day, an awesome hour. I hope something goes really well for you today. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.